Hello, I'm Mike Semsky and I'm a therapist.
Good morning. I'm Michael.
Today we're going to be talking about a word I came across called mudita. Mudita. It is defined as getting joy and happiness from the successes and enjoyment of others. And it's actually looked at as the opposite or antidote of envy or jealousy. What do you think,
Yeah,
Michael?
so this is even a little bit of something. This is something that's kind of in the vein of empathy a little
Mm-hmm.
bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a little bit different in practice. So like I came upon this concept, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago when I had seen this woman do this interview with some Instagram personality. And he was like, what was one of the most helpful things you learned throughout your dating experiences? And she was in like her mid 30s, I think, at this point. And she's um, like, she's like, I like learning how to enjoy other people's happinesses.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's like, look, I had this partner. We were great together, but we kind of lived parallel lives. Like I liked watching sports. He liked playing video games. So like I would come home and watch baseball and he would go to his room and play video games. And we were together for 7 years and otherwise very happy, but we just lived these parallel lives. She's like, we ultimately broke up. I ended up meeting this new guy and the same kind of thing started to happen. Like I liked my baseball, and he ended up liking like Pokemon or one of those like Magic the Gathering. I think it was Magic the Gathering. And she's like, I could kind of see the same thing starting to happen where we would come home and just do our individual things. Um, and she's like, what changed all that was like one day he came up to me and said, look, there's this big tournament at a card show or at this card shop that's local. Like, would you come and like watch, if just kind of be there with me while I do this? I don't know if he might have been socially anxious or not. I don't know if this was part of the plan or whatever. But she's like, okay, fine, I'll go without any real interest. And she goes and she had a really fun time. And she's like, but like one of the things that increased the amount of pleasure that I got through the experience was like seeing how excited he got about it. She's like, what I noticed myself doing whenever he got excited is like I would get chills and I would start to feel really good because I could see this person that I love enjoy this thing so much.
Mm-hmm.
And then like started to increase my interest. So I have since started to learn to play this thing because he enjoys it so much, and now I kind of do too,
Right.
right? And
Yeah.
like that's this whole thing of Mudita
Yeah.
is this kind of like vicarious joy,
Joy.
if you
Right.
will, right?
Yeah, I love that. I mean, as you were saying that, and I feel like for the two adults, it seemed to, kind of something that they had to like pay attention to take on, which is a great way to start with it. But I had this thought, like, I think people do this more naturally for children. Like when children experience joy, I think adults can witness it and be like, oh, that's just so great to witness. But like somehow it fades. And I do think that jealousy and envy are the culprit in messing this up because someone's like, oh, wow, my neighbor got a new car. Look at that beautiful car. Oh, I wish I had a car like that. Boom, it's ruined. Like, can it
Yeah,
just be happiness for my neighbor and getting his new car? So I think it does take, one of these words comes up all the time, Michael, mindfulness, I think, every conversation. So that's here too. Like, am I just genuinely joyful? Is there that little piece? Can I kind of pay attention to that? Why is that there? Because that can be spoken to, and then it
yeah. I
can
think, and
open
I,
up
you
more
know, and I
pure
think
mudita.
yeah, that type of mindfulness I think would come a little bit easier for somebody that already experiences empathy fairly easy, right? Because this is the thing, like people experience empathy to different degrees, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some people I don't really think experience it for various reasons. But somebody that's more inclined to kind of be checking in with the well-being of others are going to be a little bit more prone to having
Right.
success with this type of practice,
Yeah.
or other people who might actually be like, that in theory sounds great, but how do I process that? They would have to start building that self-talk in those moments of also building self-awareness to be like, oh, I don't need to check in with this person now. Oh, I should ask them about this thing they enjoy. Oh, I should try to get a sense of how they feel about this and then be happy for them because of reasons that I would be happy or
Right.
something. You know what I mean? And it's a lot, it would be a lot more work for somebody to learn if they're not familiar with like how empathy kind of plays out or something like that.
Right.
Right.
Well, and I
Because
think
I
you're
mean, I I know a lot of people that like get jealous if their fucking partner or their kid or their parents or somebody else wins a raffle or
right.
does something. You know what I mean? And these are people that that person is supposed to love and all of this other stuff, and they still get jealous when that happens.
Right. I
So
mean,
I think
that's
it's a thing that would need to be learned through various focuses and approaches and stuff through different people. But ultimately, it's a very tangible experience, right? To be able to feel like good for someone else, that connects us to other people more.
right.
Like doing things that connect us to other people more will give us oxytocin. Oxytocin is not just for feeling in love, it's for feeling like connection with people.
Right.
So
Totally.
like we would end up
Bonds.
getting more oxytocin, which is just as strong as like dopamine and serotonin,
Right.
which people know a little bit more from like motivation or happiness. Like that oxytocin of feeling connected to people is very strong too. And
Yeah.
that's a payout of this kind of like mudita vicarious joy type of practice.
I love that you mentioned the payout because I do think that's something like what's this effort for? But that human connection's huge. I actually like was thinking something different. Like, how does it feel to be on the other end of it? You know, like if you've ever done something or you're the one with the new car or whatever it is, like obviously went materialistic there, but or maybe you like graduate from something or get some certification in something. And it's like, are people like, oh yeah, good job, Mike, like that's cool, or they're like, Mike, good job, like I know you worked really hard on that, and that like genuine feeling that someone just purely feels good for you. Like, how does that feel to receive? Usually feels pretty good. So it's like,
It
let's then
does
try to
feel
share it. All of a sudden, this is what you're saying, the building of the bonds of basically society to like take energy into that. And I do think we should talk about some of the steps. You mentioned there's always acronyms around this. One thing that comes to mind for me that's a phrase is opposite action, but which I want to explain a little bit. But this idea of like you mentioned, like you have to be mindful, you got to be paying attention to it, recognizing your self talk. Like, what am I saying here when this other person has a success? But if we're trying to just jump in, opposite actions, like instead of putting energy into what I don't have or what this speaks to me about, let me see what happens if I put my energy and my words into great job, good for you, I'm happy for you, and try to like stay in that. Because opposite action is a little bit of like an experiment in my mind. It's like, let me see what happens if I do it this way, where I just feel good about this invented person. And now, how did I feel later? Am I like missing the fact that I was jealous? No. Am I actually still just like feeling generally good? Like, was it pleasant? Yes. Is it reciprocal? Again, like I'm saying, do I want this reaction when I have my successes? Yes. Okay. Maybe this is a new hat I can try on. This is sometimes how I explain these things. But let's go to your version of this, Michael.
well, I mean, so for also for one thing, like I understand where a lot of the inherently not uh mudita based self talk can come from, right? I can be happy for them. That doesn't mean anything changed in my life though, right? Like I really needed that $500 from bingo, or I really needed, to get a good medical break and find out that I didn't have cancer or
Sure.
whatever it is,
Right, right.
right? And yeah, like nothing did. But this is where like something could. And this is right because I always talk about the payout. We are reward based creatures, whether we think about it or not. Even kindness is selfish in a way
Right.
because
Right.
like a lot of people are kind because it feels good to be kind,
Totally.
right? So like there's a little bit of self interest in even doing good things inherently,
I
right?
agree. Yeah.
So, one of the things like the young lady that was on that Instagram video was a great example of this. Like she ended up finding something and going with her partner to go to this Magic the Gathering tournament. She ended up meeting new friends. She ended up finding a new game that she really enjoyed. She ended up building a type of connection in a relationship that she'd never even had before and sharing a real interest, right? So, like for her, there's quite a bit of benefit from going to do this thing. You know what I mean? And then not to say that's always going to apply, but you're not going to try to necessarily apply Mudita maybe through everything, right? Or maybe the payout for Mudita isn't the same for every time you do it. Maybe sometimes you just feel like a good person because that other person was really happy to have someone be happy for them. Maybe you just get that. And if you build up your empathy, you end up feeling even better because now they feel good and I feel good because they feel good. And it's just like this kind of neurotransmitter based
Yeah.
reward, right? But
Yeah.
otherwise, I mean, dude, I have been happy for people who got jobs and then I went out with them to celebrate their job and they happen to be going out with other coworkers for that job. And I end up meeting some of those coworkers and I end up getting a referral for another job and I got
There
a
you
new
go.
job there.
Right.
Like it just sometimes things can happen that like the universe will reward if you go engage, right? And it might
Yeah.
not just be a neurotransmitter based success for you. It might actually be something even more relevant to what you might be a little bit jealous of. And also to speak of this, it's okay if you're a little bit jealous of other people. Like
Mhm.
that's okay. We just don't want it to impede
Right.
other things that could benefit us,
Yeah.
right?
No,
Because like
sometimes someone else's, yeah, sorry.
I'm not gonna lie. Like when I used to collect like sports cards and stuff, there'd be these people that would make YouTube videos at the time. Breakers is what they're known as now. Like people that would go buy a bunch of these boxes and they would end up like pulling all of these cool autograph cards or limited cards, numbered cards. And I always end up getting base set cards. Like there was no benefit for me being happy from them,
Right.
right? But like what that was doing then was still detracting from my joy that I got from the hobby,
Right.
right? So, like the benefit in me, at least not poo pooing on their thing, right? Even if it's not creating vicarious joy for it, like at least not poo pooing on it doesn't add the negative connotation to the cards and the card industry. So, I
Right.
at
Like the
least get
whole
peace of
experience
mind.
gets tainted then. Yeah.
So, there is an array of experiences that we can benefit from by just even if not trying to develop the vicarious joy, the mudita, at least not being unhappy for somebody else that is succeeding or
Right,
doing well or
right.
benefiting,
Yeah. Well, there's
right?
when you said sort of like sometimes like an aspect, a piece of jealousy, a piece of that can be motivating. What one thing would be like, wow, that person just got that certificate. I'm really happy for them, but a part of me is a little bit jealous. But if that jealousy is like because that's what I want too, and I've seen them go through the steps to accomplish it, maybe I can too. Then again, we have like the right, almost like I'm thinking like chemistry now, like a little bit of jealousy, but mostly happy for you. But it's the way that's motivating. But if it's like a little too much jealousy and envy, now I don't like you anymore. We can't even be friends because I'm so jealous of you, and now it's impeded a relationship. So it's a delicate dance. But and I like to use the term vicarious joy. I think that's Mudita is a like a Buddhist phrase that's great and look into it, but
Right.
vicarious joy is a bit more of a layman term, and I just still think it's like I want to go back to like the opposite action, trying on the hat. I just think it's like let me try today where I celebrate other people's joys, where I recognize other people's joys, and I just see how does that affect me? Does it make me feel worse? Does it make me feel lesser? And I don't think it mostly will to people. Like I actually think it's a way to see things that can be like a paradigm shift in some ways.
Yeah, and like I want to give another example of an experience I had with this because this even highlights a different element through this.
Hmm.
So long time ago, I was out in Vegas I walked up to this craps table, right? It's the only thing I really play Vegas. So like Um, I walk up and the table's already full and it's rolling pretty well. So there's this like a slew of people circling this table. Everybody's like really excited and having fun, right? So I finally get in, somebody leaves. I finally, like me and my buddy finally like step in. We're right next to these two other dudes. And these two other dudes are the ones rolling like the six, sevens, and eights, right? So like we're all like, yeah, let's keep, I'm putting money down and da 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 da. And you kind of win every time just because. So this starts to happen. And like I'm not bidding nearly as big as they are. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to walk away with six figures. I'm just trying to, walk away in the positive. So I'm just like, moderately kind of placing, further bets and stuff like that. But these two dudes are rolling with it. They're like, move everything over to six. I'm 6 and 8, and let's do this, and da 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 da. And they would roll, and it'd be like, boom, it'd be big. By the time they both left with over $250,000 in chips, both of them, right? Because they're pretty much playing together. So like, if one won, the other one won. Um, or playing similarly. Now, I was all like kind of jealous, being like, oh, damn, I want to do that, blah, blah, blah. Man, why can't I win? Why don't I ever get the roles? Why don't I ever do this? Why doesn't this ever happen to me? Right? My perspective, just my jealousy. It's just a very narrowly focused understanding of what's going on.
Right.
Right. So like my buddy goes over, he's like, damn, good for you guys. That must be awesome. And the older dude kind of just chuckled. He's like, kid, if you knew how much I have spent in this casino over the past 20 years, he's like, this isn't even making up for like a tenth of it. So, like, which is to say, this dude might have spent over $1 million in 20 years, and right now he's only winning 200,000. Are you jealous now?
Right.
He's
Right.
still down $800,000. Are you still
Yeah.
jealous?
Right.
Right?
Right.
There's a lot of different ways to reframe jealousy.
Yeah.
And like, as much as I would like to encourage the Mudita, because I do think that it perpetuates more human connection, I think one of the things that can at least quell self pity or frustration is just the understanding that what we see this other person going through isn't is simply what it is. There's
Right.
always going to be more behind it or through it,
Yeah. I mean,
right?
that makes me think, and I don't want to get in a tangent on it of like social media, like where people post their best stories. So you could be like, wow, look at what this great life or whatnot. I think people have probably heard that one
And there
before.
was another you
Yeah.
have all of these, there was this Jay-Z or somebody was getting like, I think it was Jay-Z was maybe getting his star on the Walk of Fame or something. I don't remember what it was. And he gets up there and like there's like a moderator kind of asking him questions, I think. And he goes, one thing I just want to speak to is I have all these young artists coming up to me being like, I wish that I had your success. I wish I had your success. I wish I had your success. But what they didn't see that like taking place before my first fucking record went out was that I had been putting in decades and decades and decades of full days in studios, all of this work. And I just because I had saturated people's mailboxes and streets and everything else with my music, the right ears got on my music and gave me a chance. And because I had the work ethic already developed, this happened. This didn't just happen for me.
Right. You don't,
Right?
people, yeah, the grind behind the story, and yeah, totally true. Can you share,
Right.
Michael,
So like
yeah, go ahead.
in that instance though, you could look at him and be like, I'm really happy for you that you're getting this day because I respect you as an artist, but I'm also going to use that lesson that you just gave me to like try to develop an unwavering drive to succeed at something because that's why you're here. It's not because you're lucky, right?
Right.
And
Right.
like understanding like that can be part of that self-talk that we develop. Like what's one of the acronyms that I use for this type of thing is Tom. It's what's the thought, what's the opposite, and what's the middle of those
Thank you.
two,
Yes.
right? So like it's not always super easy to find, like in this Jay-Z, for instance. But the thought is for Jay-Z is if it is, man, is he so lucky? What's the opposite of that thought? Maybe he's not lucky. Maybe he just has a crazy work ethic, right? Now,
Right.
what would be the middle of that? What if it takes both? What
Yes.
if it takes like a little bit of work and a little bit of luck, which is honestly the reality of life. There's that saying that success happens when preparation meets opportunity,
Right.
right? And like Jay-Z had the preparation, he had decades of like grinding and grinding and grinding before somebody found his music, right? And then he got a little bit lucky to have that music land in the ears of somebody that could do something with it, right? And then it's still further luck in that he had a bunch of people that actually that music resonated with. So like it wasn't just the luck though. Like if his hard work hadn't existed first, none of it would have happened. So
Right.
like understanding that like I need to do that before I can allow the other part that I want to happen, that can create motivation in us,
Right.
right?
Right. No,
And we
that,
don't have to be sickeningly overly happy for somebody else. Like I'm not even going to advocate that. That's honestly really hard to do in this world. But like because it's seemingly so many people, so many not good people tend to seemingly succeed in this world. So like it can be harder at times, but understanding that like the frustration or jealousy or something that you're getting from somebody else through their success isn't the thing to linger on. That's not the thing that's helping you. Like
certainly.
something else is going to help you build motivation from it some way, right? And that's where like kind of looking at that, if not mudita, the thought opposite middle of it, right? Like, how can I help myself here? What is something I can get from this that benefits me?
Hmm.
And like you're going to be better than you're going to do better than just being jealous or mad or frustrated. It's
Yeah, certainly. I
there's
mean,
just
and it
no
is
other
a
way to do it.
lens, focusing on if it's yourself, like what you have, focusing on what you have, not what you don't have, and like using a lens of like if how can like if we look at our loved ones and cared for ones as like part of our life and our team, then a success for them can be a success for us. Like just depends on the mentality, and I think that is something that, like we've said, with intention. I think if people, plant it, feed it, grow it, it can be something like that's how I respond now. And it sort of almost like just replaces some of the old jealousy, envy. It doesn't have to be like I got rid of that. It just goes away when the new thing comes. So it's like when a new thing is trying to lean in to this feeling of happiness for you. And I like I said, and then, like if people are in therapy, you sort of play this out, you come back, you see how it felt. How was the new hat? Final
Yeah,
thoughts,
and
Mike?
like I'm just going to add this other thing in case it's not happiness that somebody's going to try to go for. Like try to find motivation from it. Like
Right.
even if it's not happiness, like get something else from it. Learn something else from it. Like learn how they did it and form your own model and go like subject yourself to all these years of practice or work or whatever and see if something comes out of it for you too, right? Like when
Yeah.
I first jumped in the entertainment industry, I would see all these people, these agents that I did not care for at all. Like I thought they were real kind of scummy kind of people. And like they would have these clients and these clients would book these really big things and it would be this big deal and they would get all these bonuses and get to go have all these adventures and all this other stuff. And I was like, that's not fair. Why does this shitty person get to have this great experience and whatever? Because they've
Right.
been an agent for 30 years and they had hundreds and hundreds of clients that had them and dropped them and whatever else. And this is just part of success for somebody that knows what they're doing in this industry. So I need to know what they're doing. So I would go and look at their model of like assessing talent and understanding how they pitched that talent. And I created my own model for it. And my model's a little bit different because I ended up doing developmental people. So I saw that my wins were more their bookings than my financial benefits sometimes. But like it was still a win. And it was still me being good at a job. So I was validated. So I even like in motivating myself to do it, I still didn't get what they had. I got something else that I really benefited from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like even if it's not happy, because I am just not a person that is happiness seeking in this life. I am more of the peace seeking person than happy seeking person. Like we might find peace of mind by getting rid of that negative type of thought and
Hmm.
finding motivation to where we build self-efficacy through it and find some of our own successes through that self-efficacy, you
Yeah.
know?
You
So
know,
even if it's not happiness, maybe motivation.
yeah,
But like sitting there being jealous and frustrated is not getting anybody anywhere.
right.
And
I mean,
if
I
we
think that
really want something good for us, we have to do that for us. Sorry, go ahead.
two things that came to mind to close with would be one is, again, this idea that like we seem to find more of this pureness for children just keeps coming in my head. So almost to borrow that feeling. And then also, like, I feel like sometimes exercise is one that fits this. Like, when we hear of a friend who started doing a new exercise routine, I feel like instinctively people are like, oh, yeah, that sounds good. Maybe I need to figure my own thing out. Like, there isn't a jealousy, like, oh, wow, they're running every morning. I'm really jealous of that. You know what I mean? Like, we're almost like, oh, glad I'm not doing that. But no, it's like I'm jealous of their motivation. I'm jealous of their dedication. Maybe that's something that speaks to me and what I need. And it's just another version of what you said, Michael. And like, okay, maybe I'm going to do that. But I just feel like certain areas, especially around finances, materialistic stuff, or relationships, dating stuff, people get very jealous very quick. But if we can like
Yeah.
find the parts of our brain that don't do that around children, around loved ones, around something that we just don't like, someone made a good meal, you're like, oh, I'm just going to enjoy this meal. I'd love to cook like that. It just doesn't have the same energy. Find that,
Yeah.
soak that in, and then maybe try to spread it throughout your life is a little bit of my
Yeah. And
final
I,
thought there.
just to kind of just to add a little bit to this now too. Sorry, this is gonna be hard to end this one a little bit. It's easier to be happy for children anyways, because first of all, like a lot of times when we're not happy for somebody succeeding, it's because maybe we don't think they're a good person and they deserve it. It's hard to not say that an innocent child doesn't deserve happiness.
So we've added judgment to the
Also,
person because of what we, yeah, okay.
right? Also, things that a child might derive that happiness from are not going to be things that we do. You know what I mean? Like a child goes and finds $1 on the ground and you're excited for them because they're so excited and all these things. But if we pick $1 up, that's not going to change our day in any way. So like it's hard to be jealous of something that you're just not going to be jealous of. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah,
mean,
it
I
doesn't
think it.
spur the jealousy as much. I think I'm back to like just wanting to like mudita is a pure thing on its own or vicarious joy. It's an antidote for the envy jealousy, and we obviously put a lot of attention on that because we're mental health providers. But like just the pure mudita, it just is what it is. But we're bringing in like keep the jealousy out of it, or if the jealousy shows up, use that for something productive. It
So
can
kind
still
of
be
what
its
I would
pure.
say, because part of this is going to depend on the person you're seeing succeed in whatever way it is, right? If it's somebody you love, it might be easier to enjoy than somebody you don't, right? So, like, go for two of the things. Go for the mudita, the vicarious joy, if it's the person that you care for and you're happy for, or go for motivation if it's somebody that you're not. You know
Sure.
what I mean? But benefit from it. It is a
Right.
lesson to be learned. There is something to benefit from it. So, like, when you see that jealousy or envy coming up, like, find out what you can get out of it. Let it be a learning growth moment instead of just something that further exacerbates some maybe complacency or lack of movement in your life, right?
Excellent. All right. That sounds like a good thought to end on, in my opinion. You good with that?
Yeah,
Yeah. All
yeah,
right.
dude.
Thanks.